Welcome. So today is our Relax into Health, Wealth, and Happiness meeting, if I have the days correct. And to make the most of this, you want it to be, let's say, experiential in the fullest sense. So we're gonna explore a topic that when you understand what is being pointed to, you will find it useful. It will shed light on your experience. You'll be able to understand your experience more clearly. So you will feel less powerless. Another way to phrase that would be more empowered in an authentic, connected way. And that's the power of knowledge. So the knowledge, now here's the thing, is that the knowledge in the normal way in which we understand and therefore approach the presentation or transfer of knowledge is that it involves a relationship. So I am here, you're there. Something is taking place between here and there. So say, somebody's the subject, somebody's the object. So you say that you're the subject. To you, I'm an object. So you perceive that you are there as the subject and you are observing at a distance an object that is moving its mouth and having sounds come out. And that whole process obfuscates what the true significance of the knowledge is. So in order to receive the true significance of the knowledge, you have to receive it on more levels. And we'll talk about one way of understanding those levels today. And again, the reason for that is because by understanding these levels, it's just pointing out, don't take it too seriously. Don't think that there's some objective thing that you exist in that has these, that dominates you in this way, but hold it lightly and see that it's a tool, a way of seeing, a perspective that is useful. It's helpful to you in achieving your desired goal. Your desired goal is to relax into health, wealth, and happiness. So, that obviously was attractive enough of a notion that it drew you. And so you're on board with that. Your understanding of that somehow is attractive to you. So you want that. But you're somewhat confused about it. You don't really know what that means. You think in some ways that you're already doing it, and then you wonder why you're not getting the results that you think you should get if you're doing it correctly. You can have sometimes you can have very big results, and then you connect that with what you think you're doing, but you make some unnecessary mistakes in that evaluation. So you think that you need to do certain things. So this is like superstition. So a lot of this has to do with not having clear perception of these levels. So oftentimes we say you're stuck in your mind, right? And we all can relate to that phrase, you're stuck in your head, you're stuck in your mind. fixated on thought. And that describes the majority of humanity, right? They live entirely there. That's, well, not entirely, as we'll see, but a lot of their attention stuck there. So for them, the world is just dead matter to be, it's just to be, it's just the like the clay that's molded by thought. So they're just very stuck in their thinking and trying to come up with the best thinking, not ever really quite catching on that all the thinking, even the best thinking, doesn't in and of itself give what is really wanted, because it's one dimensional. So does that mean that having disorganized, chaotic, negative thinking is conducive to the experience that we desire? No. So we're wise to clean it up, but we can't do so very well when we're stuck in it and identified there, because we perceive that we have too much at stake. So as we're exploring this topic, your job, if you choose to take it, I mean, it's up to you. I encourage you to, is to relax as much as possible. And this exploration, this topic that we're going to explore, is very conducive to that relaxation. But you'll see that the more that you choose to relax, the more it works for you. So they are mutually supportive. The topic that's being explored and the relaxation, they're mutually supportive of one another. If you only do one, you'll only receive that much benefit. There's benefit to be had, but it's not the full benefit. So to get the full benefit, you want to both relax and you want to receive the knowledge from that relaxation and into that relaxation. Because remember, I said that normally the way that you perceive is you perceive that there's a subject and an object and some interface between the subject and the object, which creates time and space, right? Because you say, well, I'm here, that's over there, so that's it, that's creates space. And you say, I want that, and then there's a delay between the desire and the fulfillment, and so you say, well, that's time. So when you understand things at that level, the knowledge is diluted because it's split into, and not really split, but it's like light passing through a prism where it seems there's an particular appearance there of this threefold, okay, which I just described, which is the subject, the object, and the interface between them, the means by which the two come together. So seer, seen, active seeing, right? The seer is the subject, the seen is the object, seeing is the means by which they come together. So in that paradigm, knowledge is incomplete because there's the knowledge, there's the knower, and there's the knowing in that realm. So the knowledge is incomplete. And notice then, because of that sense of incompletion, now look carefully, the sense of incompletion is what's driving you, right? You have to see that. There's a sense of incompletion, and you have a very strong compulsion. You don't seem to be able to get perfectly still because of this strong compulsion. The more you relax, the more you become aware of how subtle and deeply this compulsion runs. Normally we think, oh, I'm going to have a strategy to get around it, to get through it, to get away from it, to do something with it, somehow distance myself from it. But the more that you deeply relax, the more you notice that this sense of incompleteness runs all the way through it. How? You can't get around it. It's just a sense of incompleteness. There's this profound longing. And this has been misunderstood as, well, I don't want to give any one word to it. It's been misunderstood. It's often misunderstood. It's more misunderstood than it is not by a very wide margin. And so this this deep relaxation is what allows us to start to see the other levels that we were not aware of before. So you're allowing for this relaxation. It's one of your jobs, right? And the other job is that you're to receive the knowledge, and what I'm inviting you to is to receive the knowledge in what we would say is a holistic way, meaning at all levels. Because normally you're at this one level in 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 some theory, it's described as 5 coverings: the physical body, the energy body, the what's called manomaya, which is includes the mind and the emotions, imagination. Not really imagination. I take that back. And then there's what's referred to sometimes as like the psychic body or the astral body. So these are in order of subtlety. And then there's the cause, what's called the causal body. It's called the bliss body. So when your energy is just going to this one level, the level of the mind, manomaya, then you become tired. And when you become tired, you lose all that energy. It all drops, and you don't notice any of the other levels. So you just go from what you would call wakefulness to sleep without awareness of what else is there. So it's said that there are 3 states in the ordinary sense, which we all accept and we are aware of. We'd say there's a waking state, there's a deep sleep state or a dreamless sleep state, and there's a dreaming state. And so there's something though that is, so you notice each of these is its own world. So they're actually called worlds in some, they're described, they're talked about as worlds. So when it's encoded into stories. We talk about, heaven and the earth and the underworld. So these three worlds correspond to these states. So you can notice that you are presently aware, and you would consider this to be the waking state, right? And then you know that at some point earlier, you prior to waking, you were asleep, but you don't. So you know that there was sleep. Maybe you can remember some dreams, in which case there was dreaming. Now you're aware of waking. So then the investigation is, well, that's interesting. I can be aware of these states. I'm aware that this waking state is happening. I'm aware that I had been asleep. I'm aware that I was dreaming. But who is it that's aware? That's the question. Because if you really start to look, you see, well, in this waking state, particular qualities, we could say particular bodies or coverings are present here. Physical bodies here, right? Physical earth is here in this waking state. So waking state consists of earth, physical body. So that's the, it's called the Annamaya Kosha, the food body. It's the food body, but food, earth. So that's here in this waking state. Now remember, your job is to relax. Now for those who've been, if you're participating consistently in multiple programs, then there's a synergy. So you can really make use of that. Take advantage of that if you've learned and you've been practicing the breath normalization technique, then know that is very useful to you for relaxation. So I want you to imagine, okay, you've got this energy that's the energy of consciousness. So you notice you're conscious, right? You're conscious right now. And sometimes you wonder, you're not sure. I don't even know what that means. And you get really confused, but you're conscious. You're conscious. So consciousness is illuminating this level. We can say consciousness. The energy of consciousness is at this level presently, and so it illumines everything here. Now, when you are dreaming, then that's a different level, right? So you could say, well, it's more ethereal, right? It actually doesn't have earth, doesn't have physical. There's an idea of physicality. There's an idea of substantiality there, but that's it. It's just the idea, because upon reflection, you can see that in the dreaming state, it's ethereal. There's no substance there. And if you are awake in the dream, you can even demonstrate that, because that's why people like lucid dreaming, because then they're the god of their world. So so the energy is at that particular level, and so that's what is there. But notice that at that level, normally our consciousness is kind of dimmed. So the amount of energy is usually less. It would be unusual. I mean, it could happen, but it would be unusual that somebody's dream, they would say that their dreams are more real to them than their waking state. Could happen. It's just unusual. So for most people, it's less vivid, less substantial, less real, there's less light there, dimmer. Now, think about deep sleep. So deep sleep is not death, because there's something there. And actually, it's profoundly restorative. You think about that. The thing that is most restorative, well, they say, I can't confirm this from my own direct experience, but it is said that um, efficient meditation is more restorative than deep sleep. This is why those who are able to experience efficient meditation all the time don't have any need to sleep. And in fact, sleep becomes an impossibility, because if you're following and you're observing what's being pointed to, you'll see that you are present at all of these levels. You experience these levels, but you don't have the same power of awareness, same level of energy at each of them. So some you have a more refined sense, let's say mastery of in a way, or more you can inhabit them more with greater confidence. Well, what is pointed out, remember we said there's these, we're talking about two different things, we're kind of connecting them, but just to be clear, we're talking about these 5 coverings, and we're talking about the 3 states. So the 3 states are waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So we start to notice, though, as we observe, so I'm inviting you to see this, that, and I've already hinted at this, you see that you are there throughout. So you're actually aware of all of it. You're aware of the 3 states. You're aware of the 5 coverings. You're aware of the all of it. Anything that can be known is known to you. Anything that can be experienced is experienced by you. But notice that all of this is happening in you. This is all happening in you. So remember what I said earlier about the normal way of understanding knowledge is to separate yourself from it. So you're the knower, and there's the knowledge, and you have to acquire that through the act of knowing, and you're always trying to figure out how to do that. And see how that perpetuates this sense of lack, a lack of fulfillment, a lack of completion, a sense of incompletion, because you desperately, deeply long for the knowledge the knowledge of truth, the knowledge of liberation, the knowledge of peace. And the more you try, what you find is it's always just out of reach. So remember, you're relaxing. So how do you do that? I'll tell you how you do it. There's only one way to do it, is you have to watch yourself. So notice the difference between watching yourself and thinking about yourself. Night and day difference. So thinking about yourself is what you're in the habit of doing. That's what your brain tells you is good and safe and normal. It tells you that's who you are, and you got to keep thinking about it. But to actually relax, you can't be thinking about yourself. You have to be watching yourself. And what you'll notice is that the thoughts are only part of you. If you want to even say that they're you, but you go either way with it. You could say they're just objects to your awareness, or you could say they're a part of you, but you're indivisible. So they're simply your well, they're in, let's say they're parts of you in the same way that like your brain is a part of your body. It's an integral part. So all of these experiences are what they are is they comprise the cosmic body. So the cosmic body is we could say it's that in that from which all of these coverings arise. They're all like garments for an invisible cosmic body, or a very, very subtle cosmic body. So in order to know this, you have to relax. In order to relax, you have to watch yourself. So it's actually that simple. And now if you've been doing the breath normalization technique, you'll notice how powerful it is to combine this intention with the practice, because it will allow the practice to go very deep if you allow it. You can, I would strongly recommend that if you can do so comfortably, when you, as a nightly routine, when you get into bed, if you're able to lie on your left side comfortably and have your arms resting atop one another, and letting your head be aligned in a nice way, and letting your knees be bent so that you can find a nice stable position and play this game of relaxing deeply as you're doing now. And if you can be aware of the breath and allow the breath to become calmer and calmer and calmer, and more natural, non-mechanical, spontaneous, you'll find so many of these subtler layers in the levels of the mind and the physical body, at all, in the energy body, all of these experiences will become clearer, and you'll, as hopefully you're noticing now, you're presented with the choice. Moment to moment, there's the choice. Now, you didn't know about that choice before because you were, it's too much agitation. There wasn't enough coherence. There wasn't enough calm. There wasn't enough stability. Everything was shaking, shuddering. So much effort going into just being upright. Forget about even being upright. You can't even relax when you're lying down. And you wonder why you can't get a restful night's sleep. This is the big secret answer: to relax more deeply. Now, when you're relaxing more deeply, you're also receiving knowledge directly. And in truth, that is also always what's happening when you relax deeply. When you're relaxing deeply, then you are actually receiving the knowledge. So what's happening here is that the knowledge that's coming through at the level of words is actually just a reflection of uh, of this true knowledge that's integrated, that's coming to you from yourself. So when you understand that, then you will also understand that when you're lying in bed, ready to go to sleep, and you're relaxing deeply, consciously attentive to the breath, to discovering the subtler, more calm, more stable, more blissful experience, you know this is a good thing. It's a really good thing. So now, as I've been saying, the at these subtler levels, so at the subtler levels, or just at any other level, that's more accurate, at any other level other than those that we have already invested a great deal, which is usually just the mind. Then, so rarely, but sometimes the body, the physical body. More often, it's just in the mind, an awful lot invested in the mind, and so the rest of it is atrophied. And then there's chaotic flow, because think about it, you've got this one level that's, yeah, like super built out. It's running like a race car engine, but the rest of it can't keep up. So it's no wonder your body feels bad, and your physical body feels bad, and your energy isn't very good, and you know, experience the bliss. So then we usually try to solve that by doing more of what we've already been doing. But since what we've already been doing is what produced this problem, it should be no big surprise when the perception of the problem only increases. So what we're doing here is we're relaxing deeply and allowing for ourselves to become more intimately acquainted with ourselves at all these levels. It's said, it's described in I don't know what the original source is. It might be one of the Upanishads. I know it is described in one of the Upanishads, but it's such a crucial part an enormous amount of thinking, perception from the Indian subcontinent that I'm familiar with. And it's this observation that there is some beyond these three states, beyond waking, sleeping, and dreaming. There's a continuity. There's something there always throughout. Now, they say, well, you can find this, and it's like you find the gold and then you refine the gold, and you didn't create the gold was there, but you found it, you polished it, you did that. So in a similar way, say, there is this which is always there, and you don't know that at first. You're not sensitive to it, so you think it's invisible in all senses. Like you think that it's not even to your inner sight, so to speak, even to your intuition, even to your direct perception, that it's not knowable, that it's not real somehow. And instead you say, this physical world is real, my thoughts are real. Um, the waking state is real. My bank account is real. Okay, so as you're relaxing, you start to notice, though, that there's something that is here that is independent of these states. When you relax really, really deeply, you can enter into this kind of in-between place where you're neither really dreaming, nor are you asleep, nor are you awake. It's something in between all of these and none of them. And you are there. This is everybody experiences this, but most people don't have the subtlety of perception. They haven't refined their observation adequately to be able to notice it. So the gold is always there, but most pass it over. They don't recognize it. So just because the majority are unaware and ignorant of the gold doesn't mean that you need be, or that there's any benefit to you in being ignorant. So you can look and you can see the truth of this, that there's someone who's here who's not defined by any of those states. So classically, it's called the fourth state. If you want to call it by its Sanskrit term, it's Turiya, which means fourth. So it's the fourth state, which is, I guess, just because they're like, well, we knew about these three states. Here's the fourth. But the fourth state is different than the three states, because the three states exist. They exist in some sense. In another sense, we could see how this isn't true. But in some sense, we could say they exist. They're mutually exclusive of one another. That is to say, you can't, when you're dreaming, you're not awake, nor are you deeply asleep. When you're in deep sleep, you're not dreaming, nor are you awake. When you're awake, you're not in deep sleep, nor are you dreaming, right? So what's different about the fourth state, and this is crucial, is that it's independent and coexistent with the three states. So this is something that at first you don't know about this. It seems like an interesting idea, curious, but you can't confirm it necessarily. You're not sure about it. You say, maybe that sounds good, I'm not sure, but I don't know really what that would be. Because you're not sure quite yet, you say, well, what is this fourth state? Have I found it? But now you're relaxing. And so when you're relaxing, you're noticing the habit of going to the level of thought, but you're noticing that actually that turns out to be fairly unsatisfying. And you're opening in your awareness to other levels of your existence that you're not normally as attuned to. So you notice, for example, perhaps you can notice just energy, pure energy, independent of any thought about it, but just the purity of energy. You could even, you could notice even the body independent of energy. That's an interesting one. So what do you have an awareness of the physical body that is like just like it's a strange experience, but you can do it. Like here's just this, it's a hunk of meat. You can experience it that way. You can experience the physical body is this hunk of meat, and here's this level of energy, a sense of sense of aliveness, and when that energy is flowing in the body, in the physical body, in harmonious ways, then there's what we would consider to be a pleasant experience of the physical body. But you can experience the physical body independent of the energy. There it is. It's just this hunk of meat. You can actually perceive it that way, which is interesting and useful when you're wanting to relax deeply. So don't dismiss it as just a mere party trick. It's actually useful to, if you want to put your body to rest. Your physical body has been doing things for you, and serving all of your whims and interests, and you want to care for your body, so you want to allow your body to deeply rest, profoundly rest all the way, right? I mean, wouldn't you want your body to completely rest and be rejuvenated, to let go of all of the unhelpful impressions that are stored in the physical body, so that when next awakening this physical body, it feels healthy, calm, vibrant, blissful, joyful, strong. So you want to do that, and you can. So you have to observe, and you see, okay, here are all these impulses that are stored in somewhere in the physical body, or in the energy body, or in the interface between them. And it's like where there's a hesitance to let go, a hesitance to allow for the complete rest of the body, so that the body can just lie there like a hunk of meat. Think about it. Why should the body be all tense? It's crazy, but we accept that as normal. So here you have this powerful way in which you can help to, uh, if you desire it, to experience vibrant health. How? Through deep relaxation. See, I'm not making it up. It's just relax into health, wealth, and happiness. So this relaxation helps us to become increasingly aware of these other levels. We notice the physical body in this way, just purely as earth, purely as the physical. We experience the energy body as purely energy. We can start to observe the thought body now from a distance and just see it's just thought at a distance. You know, you're your own object now. So you're looking for knowledge. You want the knowledge. It's the knowledge of truth, the knowledge of liberation. You've been looking outside, you didn't find it. So now you're looking within. So you're your own subject and your own object. So the knowledge that you're seeking, you're finding within yourself, and you're finding it by studying yourself. You study yourself by observing. So you're observing, getting to know yourself, discover how you're designed, what the structure is, what's been happening, how it all works. You see, oh, haven't been having such a good experience because I was really stuck in one level and my energy was chaotic and I was really uptight. So it's pretty powerful to have that insight. You see, right away, you know exactly how you can help yourself. Keep watching, keep relaxing, letting yourself be calm. That calm is so important. The Taoists value that tremendously. They consider what's translated as joy. I think even that word they don't like. It's too much. That's too much excitement, too much of a surprise. And I always thought that for a long time. I thought, oh come on, that's not nice. What's wrong with them? But this the source of true joy, not not a not the superficial expression that we think of as joy, but the deep, true source of joy. It's called an unstruck sound. That's what it's called. That's anahata means. So that true source of true joy is unstruck. So if you do any agitation is too much. So deep calm. Now this calm is very deep. Then notice that when it's so deep, it's its own center, it's its own calm, it's its own gravity. So then what happens outside of it is of no concern. So all kinds of things can go on outside of it. It's undisturbed. So that's the power of the deep relaxation, the calm. So calm is not just a physical state, it's also a particular choice. It's a commitment to this deep rest, to deep relaxation. It's a commitment to that. It's that you say that I want that. I want that more than I want the agitation, more than I want the worry. You see, you have then you're starting to watch to see what are the things that what are the excuses that you make for sacrificing truth? Where you say, truth will have to wait, or truth can't be here. That's a good one. Like, really? That should that should that should signal to us immediately that there's something very suspect. If truth can't be here, then guess what that tells you? It's false. So you have to see how often that one shows up, because it does. And so don't allow that. No, have you're relaxing so deeply and choosing this calm, which is that whatever other things come up, you have a resolve. You just know. I have done all those other things. I've tried them all. I have stirred this and agitated this pot known as mind so many times, each time thinking in error that it would give me a satisfying result. And you have to know, enough, I won't do that. And that's why you have this resolve and commitment to this deep relaxation and to the calm. It turns a vicious cycle into a virtuous cycle, which is always what we want to do. Whenever we see that there's a vicious cycle, that is something that we observe in our experience that is pulling us in a direction that we don't like, causing us agitation, a sense of, agitating that sense of incompleteness, then we want to be very observant of that, and we want to then convert it from a vicious cycle, which it is if it's bothering us like that, into a virtuous cycle. So we have to observe, well, what is it? And how do I turn that into a virtuous cycle? I mean, it's just to reverse it, but you have to observe it to see what it is so that you can reverse it. So when you notice that you are in the habit of having being jumpy, right? You want to notice that you're jumpy. Something comes along and you get spooked. Say, oh, I can't relax. I've got to be worried. I've got to do something. I got to think about it. I've got to figure it out. You get very agitated, so you're jumpy. And you want to see that that's not what you want. So every time that happens, your job now is, and it's a joyful job, is to be aware of it and to remember your commitment to calm. So this thing is you get this rise of some agitation, and you notice it, and you just recall that here's a thought. The thought is that I need to follow this agitation. I also need to leap up and start fretting. I need to, in fact, I probably need to run somewhere. You start thinking these kinds of unhelpful, untrue thoughts, and you notice that you have a tendency to just allow that to run your life. And instead you choose calm, because what's happening is there's this thing that's saying, danger, react, be afraid. And if you accept that, what do you think you're going to experience? It's guaranteed. And this is what we're doing day in and day out, isn't it? I mean, you just have to see. I mean, if you don't see it yet, you will. You do. If you really sincerely continue with this practice, you'll see it. You'll see that so many uh, literally hundreds of times a day, if not more. This kind of jumpiness is going on, and all it does is strengthen the fear, the anxiety, the frustration, the sense of incompleteness. So we can, in this relaxation, we discover these things about ourselves. We see, yes, I am here. I am here. I can be aware of all of these aspects of what I call myself. I can be aware of these. I can be aware of the thoughts. I can be aware of the feelings. I can be aware of the sensations. I can be aware of the imagination. I can be aware of expansiveness. I can be aware of all of these things that I associate with myself, these coverings. I can be aware of these states that I identify with: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. I am that which is continuous. I am here throughout. I am independent. I'm independent. That's the that's the that is the that is the bliss. You're only afraid when you think that you see. Here's the other thing: you can only think you're alone if you think there's someone else. Imagine no more aloneness, no more loneliness, no more heartache, no more no more need to indulge anger. Not because it's wrong and you shouldn't, and you don't want to, shame on you. You don't want to be a bad person, do you? It's not like that anymore. You realize, oh, that just hurts. It's just not true. It's just not, it's just not real. That there's absolutely no need for it. I don't need to go to battle with it. I don't need to be afraid of it. I don't need to beat myself up internally because of some story I have about what I did wrong. Nothing, and none of that is needed any longer. And you see, it's honest to goodness is found by relaxing. You really just have to see it in the right way. You have to see how I'll conclude it by saying this, that it's also said, okay, and it's like it's said that there are those who are who have an authentic recognition of this fourth state, but it's unstable. And so they we can say only the fourth state is true wakefulness. So what we call the waking state, it's another kind of dream. So we could really say it's like there's the dream state, there's a physical dream state, there's the ethereal dream state, and there's the uh, causal body state. And none of those are true wakefulness. True wakefulness is that which is independent of those three states. And clearly that's you. So it said that some have this awareness, but it comes and goes. It's not stable. And so that's interesting, but it's nothing. They can easily fall back into suffering because they're going back to sleep. So it's only when wakefulness is, we could say, permanently established, that there's real stability. And so it's suggested that the aim is to have your unbroken awareness of yourself as the fourth state, as that which is independent. So how can you do this? Well, this broader technique that we've been exploring here, which, to relax into health, wealth, and happiness, is, when properly understood and applied, results in exactly that. Because your attention can well, as there's a relaxation, then there's a calming, there's less agitation, there's greater clarity, it's easier to allow for the natural alignment of things. You don't need to use so much force. You're not as startled. You're more, you have a sense of calm command. Um, you're aware all the time. So there's obviously nothing that's going to surprise you. And your attention is primarily on what we would call inner, just as a metaphor, because there's the realization that all of this physical reality is a state that you're aware of. So this so-called inner awareness is of the fourth state. It's of the self, that which is present, that which is conscious and continuous, eternal. And so naturally, on recognizing the truth of that, when it's fully recognized, when it's really understood, then you're naturally going to have your attention primarily attracted to this inner, so-called. So you shouldn't try to do it with force, but you want to set things up so that you can have a blissful, positive experience that encourages more exploration without attachment to, this is the secret to success, I guess, without attachment to the particular experiences as they come and go. But one key component is have something that's not thought to put your attention on. I will respond to the email. There's a message that came across to me. I will respond to that email. But you want to be aware of this continuous self continuously, because it's so enjoyable, because it's much more attractive than what you otherwise are in the habit of giving your attention to. So you have to approach it in that way. If it's a thing to do that you're going to whip yourself with, you won't get very good results. But when you come at it knowing, trusting, believing, this is actually designed to reveal the bliss that is my authentic nature. That should be the outcome. And that it is actually effortless, but it requires 100% consciousness, wakefulness. So the trick is learning how to allow for that wakefulness, which otherwise the energy that can go to wakefulness, see, that energy is there freely. Nothing, its natural way is to, when it's flowing unimpeded, there is this clarity of the fourth state. Even if these other states are there. So even in the presence of waking state appearance, there can actually be 100% attention with an awareness of the fourth state. Because, and in order for that, when that happens, what that means is there's a complete relaxation on the other levels. So that's all it means, is that but we become afraid that if I'm not here micromanaging all of this stuff that I've clearly not gotten right yet, then it's going to get worse. Whereas actually all the evidence points to the opposite, which is if you keep doing what you've been doing, it's going to get worse, because that's what's been happening. So it requires that we are willing to stop indulging those impulses to get involved in ways that are only going to be hurtful. Hence the relaxation. So you have to approach it knowing the purpose of this activity is twofold. One, that I will experience the bliss of my true nature now. Two, that I, through that experience, coupled with my conscious awareness and intention, becomes stabilized, such that increasingly, we'll say, dominates. And the waking, dreaming, and sleeping take their rightful place. The strain is removed from them. Think about that. There's this tremendous strain on this system when one level is asked to do everything, because it's the only one that's been developed. So we're learning how to stop doing those dysfunctions. Then when we get into this state of the recognition of the fourth state, when we can actually allow that through this deep rest, deep relaxation, through slowing down, through bringing your attention to making your attention one-pointed, particularly if it's one-pointed on the movement. You see, that's very powerful. I mean, it's like one thing, challenging, I guess. Keep attention on one static point. Even more so to keep your attention on that which doesn't have which is formless. So it's not even to say that it's moving actually or changing, it's formless. So that's more of the aim, really, is to have the attention on the formless, that consciousness. But it's a process. So just to review, and then we'll wrap up. What I'm suggesting is that you can, and I'm suggesting at least once a day, like you can do this formally while you're in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, resting to go to sleep. And I'm suggesting, if possible, you lie on the left side. If you do it lying on the back, physiologically, you're more likely to have a harder time with it. And you want to relax, and and it's very worth learning and practicing the breath normalization technique, which was covered in the last 2 weeks of the moving to stillness meetings, because it's very powerful. It will help you to, when you get in the flow of it, you'll see that it helps you to release and relax the body at a much deeper level, at a much subtler level, so that the the subtle impulses of like spasming of the muscles can be released, and everything can become very relaxed, very restful, in ways that you don't even remember were possible. And you can give yourself that every single day, at least once a day, which is why I'm suggesting it. And then in addition to that, because that's fine in and of itself, it's very powerful, it's good. So as long as you do that, and then you're going to fall asleep, excellent. If you can also, for extra benefit, significant extra benefit, see that you can be watchful of transitions. So it's said that transitions are particularly potent opportunities for observing the fourth state. So there are obvious transitions between these states, the three states. So you can be watchful for those. At first, you may not catch it, but if you persist, and that's the key, if you persist with that intention, every time you lie down for sleep, that you have the intention that you're going to watch the transition. So you'll know if it's waking state, or if it's dreaming state, or if it's sleeping state, or none of the above. So you're training yourself to be aware of the transition, which will allow you to then to be more aware of the fourth state. That you can also do this with any other transition, which is one of the many benefits of breath awareness. So when you're doing breath awareness, that like when you're going to sleep or any other time in the day, if you're doing breath awareness, be aware of the transition, particularly the transition between the out breath and the in breath. So just be aware of that. Just be aware that exists, and that you are aware. So it's neither in nor out. It's neither light nor dark. It's something else. And those other movements occur in that. So you can just observe that. And as you're observing these things, you're noticing the habits of jumpiness, the habits of jumping to mind, the habits of startling, the habits of worrying, the habits of frustration, the habits of not allowing yourself to rest and relax deeply. And know that it's in the awareness of those that you're able to let them go. So as soon as you become aware, you remember that your guideline of calm. So as soon as you notice that jumpiness, as soon as you notice that rising agitation, you remember calm. And just give yourself at least that much. If your mind starts to argue with you, then just at least commit to, okay, I just choose calm first. And then if there are arguments, I view them calmly to see if they have merit. But I refuse to be carried away by the usual suspects: fear, anger, etc. And you'll see that you've made so many excuses for most of your life for why you had to suffer. And you'll actually protect those excuses. You'll hold them up as virtues. And you'll think, if I didn't have these, then my life would be so dull. If I didn't, it seems crazy, but you watch and see, you'll see that you think, well, if I'm just calm, if I'm not all agitated, well, then I'd be bored. Then my life would be unpleasant. And those are the things that you believe, that every time there's the jumpiness, that also flashes across your screen of awareness. And that's what I call constellation. Those things happen in a flash like that, and you say, oh, that must be true. Guess I better tense up, hyperventilate, leap up, fling myself somewhere, do something, read something, turn on the news, call somebody, check my email. And you start to see how much of your life is dominated by compulsion and habit. And you then choose what you want. And you know that you want to be awake. You want to choose. You want congruency with your true nature. Harmony. So you can choose that. And this is the way. You have to be aware of yourself. It's like, I'm laughing because it's super simple, and yet the most difficult thing for most of us to understand. You have to be aware of what you're in the habit of doing, which means you have to slow way down. Take hold of these techniques because they're the most powerful, direct, safest things that I'm aware of that will help you to discover these things. But if you do them mechanically only, you'll get mechanical results only, which is like 1% of the benefit. So you have to do them slowing down, conscious awareness, with the gentleness, with the intention of deep relaxation, with a commitment to calm, knowing that this is good, that it is true health, wealth, and happiness, and that you're inheriting your birthright by relaxing into it. When you do all of that, you reflect on the knowledge that has been explored today, then you will discover increasing benefits. It's a cumulative. You'll never exhaust it. You keep coming back to it, keep looking in this way, and that happiness, that natural happiness grows, it blossoms. And all of the things that before you were struggling with, you've learned this powerful transition, how you by becoming aware of them at subtler and subtler levels, you're able to convert the vicious cycle into a virtuous cycle. The earlier you can do that, the more rapid the positive results instead of the negative. So, and when I say positive, I mean that which is congruent with your nature. You desire joy, love, harmony, abundance, peace, clarity, all of fulfillment, all of that is available to you. You just have to choose it. You have to choose it consistently, repeatedly, at subtler and subtler levels, and then it becomes, then it's established. So that's it. And the truth is simple. The ways we will distort it are incredibly complex. So hopefully it doesn't get distorted too much before next time. And thank you as always for joining me. I hope that you have relaxed deeply and received truth from yourself. I hope that you really notice that and let that illumine you, all the other states. Know that you are observing all these other states from the fourth state, from pure consciousness, that you are aware of all of it, and that it comes and goes in you, that your nature is bliss. Allow that bliss, see the bliss more and more, catch the glimpses of it, tell the truth about it when it happens, and then just gently every time be aware of it and see what it is that remains, because that the essence of it is eternal. And so you're watching, because remember, it's about the being aware of the transitions. So you're aware as there is a transition from waking to dreaming, dreaming to deep sleep to waking. You're aware of that. You're aware that this essential bliss, the essential freedom, the essential self, pure consciousness, that which is this beyond subtle, is continuous. So you're looking for that, you're observing that, you're seeing, and it's a refinement process. So you can let go and you can say, not that. Don't have to worry about that. Don't have to fight with that. Don't have to be concerned about that. So you start to get clear. Thoughts don't need to be concerned about, don't need to worry about, don't need to fight with. The sensations don't need to fight with, don't need to worry about, I don't need to do anything with any of this. And so that thread is woven through all of the experience, waking, dreaming, sleeping, and it's all enlivened by this consciousness, so that you then start to notice, I am that all of this is happening, but I am that which is eternal. You start to see it, you start to notice it. So you truly, it is a true transformation. So let that happen. See, make it a game. How many times, how much of this weekend can you be aware of yourself, aware of that essential self, aware of that fourth state, thoughtless, calm, still, and it's always there. So you just see how often can you be aware of this, and you see that more and more you can notice it all the time. Don't it's a game. Don't turn it into competition, and there's no prize for anything. So don't do that to yourself. Make it playful, knowing that now I can recognize, know, and experience the bliss of my true nature now. So you don't put it off, because if you put it off, you're playing a different game, not a good one. Don't do that. So how much of the weekend can you know your own nature as bliss? That's the way to, doesn't that sound nice? So you see how much can you be aware of your true nature as bliss, this weekend and see that it is there continuously. And then I'll see you next time. So bye for now.